What's up, party people? It's Keys Dan with RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com, coming to you live in living color from the Radio What studios. And this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter? It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need DJ services, please jump on over to DJLittleRock.com. Come on by. The water's fine. I don't know. If it's a pool party, maybe the water's fine. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous? Use the hashtag What Makes You Famous and find it everywhere. What makes you smarter? Well, let's find out. Let's do it together right here on the program. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Trump tweets that he will temporarily suspend immigration. President Trump announced Monday that he would sign an executive order temporarily suspending immigration into the United States because of the coronavirus pandemic. Quote, in light of the attack from the invisible enemy, as well as the need to protect the jobs of our great American citizens, I will be signing an executive order to temporarily suspend immigration into the United States! Exclamation point. End quote. Trump tweeted. The extraordinary use of executive power could face legal challenges. Trump has pushed to restrict immigration throughout his presidency, and critics said he was using the coronavirus as an excuse to boost his efforts to turn people away. Quote, our policies need to be grounded in public health, not bigotry, end quote, said Sharanya Krishnaswamy, the advocacy director for the Americas at Amnesty International USA. This is according to The Hill and the New York Times. Number 2, Georgia, South Carolina, Tennessee let businesses reopen. Several southern states moved Monday to let some businesses start reopening after weeks of shutdown to fight the coronavirus. As protesters demand several states lift social distancing restrictions, South Carolina let retail shops reopen Monday afternoon under an executive order signed by Governor Henry McMaster, Republican. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Republican, said people in the state could start getting haircuts, massages, and tattoos again and return to their gyms starting Friday. Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, Republican, said his state's stay-at-home order would expire on April 30th, so most businesses would be able to reopen starting May 1st. Meanwhile, the COVID-19 coronavirus is continuing to spread in much of the nation, and many governors are saying they don't have enough testing ability to safely start reopening their economies. This is according to the New York Times. Number 3, oil prices drop below $0 for first time in history. A U.S. crude oil futures contract plunged into negative territory for the first time in history on Monday as demand dried up due to coronavirus shutdowns and storage facilities reached capacity. U.S. benchmark West Texas Intermediate crude contracts for May delivery, which expire Tuesday, dropped to negative $37.63 per barrel. That means producers are paying traders to take the oil. West Texas Intermediate for June delivery, which offers a better picture of the state of the market, fell by 18% to $20.43 per barrel. The July contract dropped by 11% to $26.18 per barrel. The price of international benchmark Brent crude for June delivery fell by 5.6% to $26.49 per barrel. Quote, there is still a lot of crude on the water right now that is going to refineries that do not need it, end quote. Halima Croft, global head of commodity strategy at RBC Capital, said on CNBC's Squawk Box. This is according to CNBC. Number 4, WHO leader warns the worst is yet ahead of us in pandemic. World Health Organization Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus said Monday that, quote, The worst is yet ahead of us, end quote, in the coronavirus pandemic. The outbreak has killed more than 170,000 people and infected 2.5 million worldwide. Some countries have reported a drop in new cases, but public health experts warn that the virus could explode in less developed countries with limited healthcare facilities. Dr. Anthony Fauci, head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and a member of President Trump's coronavirus task force, responded to protesters calling coronavirus lockdowns, quote, tyranny, end quote, by warning that reopening the United States too quickly could result in a burst of new infections. Quote, unless we get the virus under control, the real recovery economically is not going to happen, end quote, Fauci said. This is according to Politico and Good Morning America. Number 5, Netanyahu, Gantz reach deal on unity government. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and centrist rival Benny Gantz on Monday announced a deal to form an emergency unity government. The deal calls for Netanyahu, leader of the right-winged Likud party, to stay on as prime minister with Gantz as his deputy for 18 months. The two would then switch jobs. Netanyahu and Gantz essentially tied in 3 straight elections in about a year. Both had opportunities to form ruling coalitions, but neither managed to do it. Gantz had repeatedly called Netanyahu, who faces a looming corruption trial, quote, unfit to lead, end quote. Gantz, a former army chief and head of the blue and white coalition, recently shifted gears after failing in his latest attempt to form a government and said he would be open to working with Netanyahu to confront the coronavirus crisis, disappointing his supporters. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 6, report U.S. monitoring intelligence of Kim Jong-un health problems. U.S. officials are monitoring intelligence that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un's health is in, quote, grave danger, end quote, following surgery, CNN reported, citing a, quote, U.S. official with direct knowledge, end quote. Kim's health has long been considered vulnerable due to his smoking and obesity, but South Korea said it had seen, quote, no unusual signs, end quote, to back up the report. Quote, we have nothing to confirm regarding recent media reports about the health problems of Chairman Kim Jong-un of North Korea, and no atypical movement inside North Korea has been detected, end quote, said Kang Min-seok, a spokesman for the South Korean President Moon Jae-in, in a statement. Daily NK, an online newspaper based in South Korea, reported that Kim was recovering after an April 12th cardiovascular system procedure. This is according to CNN and the Washington Post. Number 7, Supreme Court rules against non-unanimous juries. The Supreme Court on Monday ruled that only unanimous juries can convict defendants in criminal trials. Oregon is the only state that permits dissenting jurors. Louisiana did too until voters there recently approved a constitutional amendment barring non-unanimous convictions. The Supreme Court decision overturned the 2016 conviction of a Louisiana man for killing a woman in New Orleans. Hundreds of inmates found guilty by split juries could now get new trials. Writing for the majority, Justice Neil Gorsuch said it was, quote, unmistakable, end quote, that the Sixth Amendment guarantee of fair jury trials meant unanimous convictions. Justice Samuel Alito wrote in a dissent that the majority was, quote, lowering the bar for overruling our precedents, end quote, by sweeping aside a 48-year-old decision that let states set their own laws on non-unanimous juries. This is according to The Hill and the New York Times. Number 8, Trudeau promises gun laws after Canada shooting rampage. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Monday he would swiftly press forward with gun control legislation following the deadliest shooting rampage in the country's history, which left at least 18 people dead in Nova Scotia. Trudeau and his allies had promised to enact the gun laws in last year's campaign. Quote, we were on the verge of introducing legislation to ban assault-style weapons across the country, end quote, Trudeau told reporters. Quote, "It was interrupted when the pandemic caused Parliament to be suspended, but we have every intention of moving forward on that measure and potentially other measures when Parliament returns." End quote. Police say a single gunman killed the victim Saturday and Sunday during a 12-hour shooting spree in rural communities before he died in a standoff with officers. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 9. Families sue helicopter companies over Kobe Bryant crash. Relatives of 4 of the 8 passengers who died in the helicopter crash that killed Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna have filed wrongful death lawsuits against the companies that owned and operated the aircraft. The lawsuits came 2 months after NBA star's widow, Vanessa Bryant, sued helicopter owner Island Express Holding Corp. And operator Island Express Helicopters. Unlike the Bryant lawsuit, the families of the other passengers did not name the dead pilot, Ara Zobayan, in their complaints. One of the lawsuits was filed by surviving children of the Orange Coast College basketball coach, John Altobelli, and his wife, Carrie, whose daughter, Alyssa, played basketball with Gianna. The other was filed by the family of Christina Mauser, who coached the girls' basketball team with Bryant. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 10. Venice Film Festival plans to go forward this September. The Venice Film Festival, one of the most important annual film festivals where major movies are shown in the race to the Academy Awards, is planning to begin as scheduled on September 2nd, an executive said Monday. Lockdown measures remain in place in Italy, which has confirmed more than 170,000 COVID-19 cases. But the president of the festival's parent group, Roberto Ciccuto, expressed confidence that officials will permit the festival to open, quote, 6 or 7 circumscribed movie theaters, end quote, in September, although he noted international attendance is likely to be down. Some analysts, however, doubt the festival will proceed as normal. This is according to the Hollywood Reporter. That's 10 things you need to know today for Tuesday, April 21st, 2020. This has been What Makes You Smarter. Thank you so much for listening. I hope everyone's doing reasonably well out there. If you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. That's it for me. It's Keys Dan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace. I'm out of here. If you like what you hear, I encourage you to follow What Makes You Smarter on social media. Find it on Facebook at What Makes You Smarter, Instagram at What Makes You Smarter, Twitter at SmarterWhat, and YouTube. Username Keys Dan. Leave What Makes You Smarter podcast a review and subscribe. Listen to What Makes You Smarter podcast on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Podcast Addict. My personal favorite, learn with me on my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. And if you'd like to tell your story, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Call 501-470-6386 and leave a message to set up a time for What Makes You Famous. Support What Makes You Smarter podcast using the PayPal. PayPal.me/KeysDan. Email info@RadioWhat.com. What Makes You Smarter is a production of Keys Dan Enterprises Incorporated at KeysDan.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening.